back with another episode of the IBJJF Podcast. My guest today is Sebastian Rodriguez. Sebastian is a Pan champion. He's a world no-gi champion. He's got an incredible super fight coming up at the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. He's going to be taking on Ronaldo Junior. I think a lot of people would be interested to learn a bit more about your background in jiu-jitsu, kind of how you got involved, because I think you have a pretty unique background story and a pretty interesting story of how you got into the sport. So why don't you talk about that?
So I started jiu-jitsu when I was like, I think 17 to 18 years old. I'm from Costa Rica, and over there, like the main sport is like soccer.
Yeah.
So before I started training jiu-jitsu, like I was doing like a lot of soccer. I was actually like in a professional team, and I wasn't doing like really good in school. So my parents like took me out of the team, and after that, like they put me in another school where there was no soccer. Usually in all schools in Costa Rica there is like soccer, right? But in this school was like skateboarding. So after that, like I started skateboarding, but I wasn't pretty good. And my dad always like told me like or showed me to do sports, right?
Yeah.
He was a boxer. I did like also karate. I was like a brown belt in karate. I think it was karate do. I also did like Kyokushin. And as I was getting older, right, I started like getting a little bit more into like fighting sports. So I started training like boxing with my dad, which in the beginning I didn't like. He always like used to trick me, say like, let's go to the boxing gym and I like buy you McDonald's, or let's go like run, I don't know, like 5 miles and then like I buy you like whatever, right? So then like as I was getting older, I was like a little bit more into it, right? And I started appreciating that a little bit more. And I had like a friend that started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember it was like on the era where it was like the UFC, where it was like Anderson Silva and like Mauricio Shogun and, you know, like Vitor Belfort and all these guys, right? And every time I watch the UFC, they always say like, they're like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, right? So I started like looking a little bit more into it, and my friend invited me to do a class, and well, I started training, and I loved it, but I wasn't like too committed in the beginning since it's not a big sport in Costa Rica. There was not too many schools. It was more like like to go there, hang out with friends, and when I finished school, like high school, I was like I did like a couple of tournaments, and over there I was like, I really like to compete, you know, so that's what I like want to do for my life, you know. And that's how I kind of like started training jiu-jitsu, right? So yeah.
So you mentioned that there weren't a lot of schools in Costa Rica. I'm sure the scene has
Yeah.
grown since you first started, but how is the scene in Costa Rica for jiu-jitsu evolved from the time you started up until now?
I think it's still really early, you know. Costa Rica has a really beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. It's like it's a lifestyle, you know, and jiu-jitsu kind of like goes a lot with the surfing lifestyle and the skate lifestyle. So it's really like laid back, you know, everybody like being friends, you know, like um, so in Costa Rica we have a lot of this scene, you know, like it's a lot of reggae culture, surf, beach, you know, like, and people are really like really welcoming, right? So I think people start liking it because of that, you know. And right now it's still really early. There's like a lot of much schools now than where is when I started. But in the beginning when I started, it was like, I think it was like 3 or 4 black belts all over Costa Rica. Costa Rica is
Wow.
really small though, but yeah, it was like 3 or 4 black belts, like Brazilian black belts, right? And then now I think it's a lot. Maybe there'll be like 20, 30 black belts, you know, and Costa Rican guys. So it's really cool to see how it's growing. Schools are growing. People started doing a little bit more. They start like investing a little bit more in the kids, which is really important, right? So
Yeah.
you like keep growing the sport, and it's nice. I wish I could go there a little bit more, but every time I go, I try to like bring a little bit of what I learned on the outside towards Costa Rican scene, you know.
Yeah, what's
So
really interesting to me too is that it was a small scene, but you decided after you did a few competitions that you wanted to take it to the professional level. So can you talk about that
yeah.
decision and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, as I was saying, I did a couple of tournaments, and I was always really, really competitive. Um, And I remember I was training a lot. I was like 19, and I was going to the university. And in my family, none of my parents go to the university. They're both hairdressers. They're like artists. They like it a lot. You know, it's not like the hairdressers that you go to the. I don't know, like the regular ones. My dad is like he teaches and he's really really good. You know,
Yeah.
he's a black belt, and my mom too. You know, so black belts in hairdressing.
Yeah.
So like they always teach me like everything you do, you have to put like a lot of passion and love, you know. And when I started doing it, I was like always really passionate about everything I do. And I was training a lot for a competition. I remember my dad was helping me train. He was like, "All right, brother, we're gonna do this." Well, my dad, right? He doesn't tell me brother, but all right, Sebas. Since you wanted to do this, all right, then you're gonna have to do it full time, you know. My mom was a little bit more worried, more like, "Oh, you have to study, you have to do this." But I was like, "Mom, you know, it's in life is only plan A. I don't have plan B's, you know, so it's all in or all out." And my dad was helping me train for this competition, which it was actually IBJJF pants at blue belt. And I don't know, we did like all this stuff. We trained it a lot. Went there, and I got like 3 fights, and I lost like I don't know 8 finals or quarterfinals. I got really bummed, and my dad was like, "No worries, man. Let's try it again. Let's try to do another one." And then I was like, "All right, boom." So we start training again, and we were gonna do worlds that year. And so we went there, and like I think same thing. I lost, and like third fight or fourth fight, something like that. And when I lost, I was like devastated. I was like, man, I don't want this feeling ever again. And I realized was because there was something missing, right? And I think it was like I was really committed to it, but I think it's really important for you to have people you look up to and people like you admire and are
Yeah.
also committed about the same goals around you, you know, so they can help you achieve, you know. Not everybody's built alone, you know. It's really hard. So I decided to try to find a gym and travel, you know, and do jiu-jitsu full time, right? So I remember like I sent a message to a couple of gyms. I was really fan of Kron Gracie. I loved to see him fight. So I like text Kron Gracie. "Hey Kron, I really want to go to your gym. Please, I'll do anything. I don't know. I can clean the mats or whatever if you let me train." And like he didn't even reply. And also I sent like to Lloyd Irvin. And there was like this cool video that he was doing. I remember it motivated me so much that it was called like the next world champion. There
Yeah.
was like Everett Santos and Muhammad Ali and like Shane Jamil and like Malakai and like everybody, you know, like all these guys crushing it, you know. And I remember in the video he said like, if you want to be part of the team, whatever, send a message, right? And so I sent him a message and like same thing. I'm gonna be world champion. Please help me. But here I don't have the resources, right? And he probably have 1,000 messages at the time, so he didn't even see it or whatever. Uh, and so I keep searching. I had a family in New York, in Long Island, and I saw there was like Unity, right? So like I tried to work. I saved some money, and I told my parents like, "Hey, I'm going," right? So like after Worlds, I lost, and like 1 month after, I was like already in New York, trying like giving like a try to it, right? And I want to try to like all the gyms, but when I get there, the first gym that I tried was Unity, and I fell in love. You know, like it was like everybody like beat me up really bad, and you know, there was like this 15-year like no like 13-year-old kid at the time, and I was like I don't know like 19 or whatever 20, and he gave me such a hard round, and I was like it's not possible. Like I'm almost, you know, I'm having a hard round with a 13-year-old. You know, like this is the place to be. You know. So yeah, that's how I like started my professional training, let's say, and you know, that's how I like committed to it 100%. I fall in love. You need to make me fall in love like with the hard training, you know, and that's how I started a professional scene, let's say, right?
Yeah, so Unity was, let's say, the first professional type team that you started training with. And I know you talked about how good some of the competitors were there, even the kids that gave you tough rounds.
Yeah.
But what else was it about the environment at Unity that you knew you wanted to make that your home?
So I was there at summer, and it was like, I don't know, I don't know how many degrees in the USA measurements, but like in us it's like 30, is like really 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 hot, you know. And it was such a small gym. It was like 40 people on the mat. Everybody, you can see like everybody's like super committed towards the training. Murillo like close the windows, close the door, nobody gets out, everybody like super quiet. All these like, you know, like that, not hostile, you know, but that like fighting,
Intense.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, intense training session, you know. Everybody like, all right, you know, like towards their goals, you know, like really committed. And you know that like make me fall in love with it. I always like, you know, a challenge, and that kind of like challenged me a lot. And I you know, just like to be able to finish the training session was really challenging, and I wanted to be able like to do it like easy, you know. So yeah, that's kind of like what made me fall in love, like the room, the environment, the energy, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah. Mhm.
So before we started recording, you were telling me a bit about how when you were a blue belt, you felt like you weren't really that good at jiu-jitsu yet. Like you were scrappy, you had a lot of heart, but you weren't
Yeah,
super technical. How long did
yeah.
it take you to train while you were training at Unity until you really felt like you were developing good techniques and you became a really technical fighter?
So Murillo is like really technical, and he's like such a good instructor. So I think like my standards were set up pretty high, and I also had like some people in like a lot of people in the room that I admire a lot, and like so the standards were really high, you know. So when I was like a blue belt, I didn't know that much jiu-jitsu, because maybe we weren't exposed to that many different games and stuff like that. Um, my professor in Costa Rica, he was my good friend, you know. His name was Andre, and he teach me like really good like basics, you know. Um, but one thing that was really common in the jiu-jitsu scene, I think this happens a lot in like the small towns or like the small gyms. Sometimes it still happens that that kind of like sometimes like there's not too many people to train with, so you kind of like have to like, you know, like, all right, we have to train with different people to get exposed to different stuff, right?
Yeah.
um and in Unity, everybody had like different games, you know. Like this guy had like a pressure pass game, this guy played spider guard, the other one played de la hiva, the other one did lapel, the other one do like whatever, you know. And I never like saw that in my life. Everybody in my gym all only do like, I don't know, like deep half guard or spider guard, you know. So like I and everybody also, like for example, the guy that plays spider guard, he was like also had knowledge about the other stuff, you know, like about passing, about pressure, about this, about that, you know. And so that kind of like set up the bar really high, because it made me realize that for me to be good at jiu-jitsu, I have to uh you know, like know everything, you know, and like at least be good or well, a little bit more than average on every technique, you know.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that's kind of like I think what made me learn a little bit better jiu-jitsu, you know, get exposed to so many different people, so many different types of bodies, so many different games, you know. And Murillo, every time that he explained a technique, being like so specific, like, I don't know, if you move the shoulder a little bit more to the right, you know, like you will get a different reaction that if you like, I don't know, keep your shoulders in the same direction, you know. And everything was like an inch game, you know. Before it was more like, you grab, you put, and then you get, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, what's really cool is that you still fight with a lot of heart. You're still very scrappy, but obviously now you're extremely technical too. So if someone were to ask you about your style in jiu-jitsu, how would you describe your style?
My style, I think it varies a little bit. I think I play in the gi, I play a lot of guard, but I think it's per seasons, you know. Like I remember when I was a brown belt, I was liking a little bit more passing. I was doing like a lot more passing. I'm a black belt. Like right now, this gi season, I was playing like a lot of guard, a lot of X guard, single leg X. Um, Before, like on no gi, I was like playing like a lot of same thing, leg locks, like leg locks, entry, X guards, and like sweeping. Now I'm like trying to develop a little bit more my wrestling, you know. So I'm always like trying to switch it up, you know. I don't try
Yeah.
to stick too much into it. right now I'm investing like a lot of my wrestling. So like hopefully I can show a little bit on the no-gi scene and on the gi scene too, you know.
Yeah.
Um, if I could describe my style of jiu-jitsu, it's like I just want to like have fun, you know, and like uh, whatever happens happens, you know. I just want to like the people that is watching the fight like say like, oh, that's cool, you know. I want to train jiu-jitsu too. I want to make it like cool like that, you know. That I hope I can, or that's what I think when I want to develop my style, you know.
You are
Yeah.
very exciting, and you also are really fun to watch. And I think not
Thank
only
you.
that, but you've also gotten great results. So in 2022, I feel like that was a huge year for you. You won the Pans, Nogi
Yeah.
Worlds, and then this year you got third at the Worlds and had a great performance at medium heavy. Can you talk about which title you feel like was most impactful on your career and just how you felt about winning titles of that magnitude?
Yeah, I think the title that actually like put me a little bit more, or like the most meaningful, maybe it would be like the last one, the third place at Worlds, because sometimes when you get to black belt, I feel like especially like your first years, you you get like all these amazing guys that you're gonna fight, you know, and like sometimes you're like, all right, I'm fighting this guy, or I'm fighting this guy, or I'm fighting, I don't know, like Braguinha,
Yeah.
Isaac, this guy, right? And you kind of like tend to compare yourself a little bit in the beginning. And I feel like in Worlds, I was able to know that I don't compare myself. I'm there, you know. So like I was able to put myself like with them, you know, and like on that bar. So it was really important for me because before that I was having like a little bit of trouble, you know, like now I'm gonna have like a tough fight, you know, like with this guy, instead of like, you know what, like sorry for the word, but you know, fuck that, you know, let's have a war, you know, let's put on a show, let's fight, you know, uh, and that last worlds made me realize much more that, right.
Yeah. So your great results have earned you some really cool things. One of them is this super fight you got coming up with Ronaldo Junior. It's going to be at the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. I think this event's going to be really cool because it's part of Jiu-Jitsu Con. And I don't know if you've been to
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu Con, but it's just like a huge convention. So many people there. It really feels like a really cool family atmosphere. So it's really fun. Tell me about your thoughts on Ronaldo Jr. in that super fight. What did you think when you were first offered the match?
Man, Ronaldo is one of my favorite fighters. He's really cool. He's scrappy. He's good guard, good passing, and I always wanted to fight him. Now that we're in black belt, so I'm really excited. I can't wait to fight him. I can't wait to put on a show, and yeah, it's a really exciting fight. I'm really happy about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You said that he's one of your favorite fighters. What do you like about Ronaldo's game? What do you think makes his game interesting and effective?
Yeah, I just love like he has really good intensity. You know, like he's when he's passing, he's like really good intensity. When he plays guard, he's like really good intensity. You know, he's always like he just makes it a fight. You know,
Yeah.
that's I like a lot about him. That he's always looking for the finish. He just makes it like a fight, and yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah.
I think he's a pretty unique fighter too. He's very athletic. He's very fast. I think a lot of people know him for his passing, but like you said, he can play
Yeah.
guard too very effectively. What do you think about Ronaldo's athleticism and his speed? Do you think that gives him an advantage against a lot of opponents?
I think yeah, he has. I think he's more besides like of his athleticism. I think he's like really creative. You know, like
Yeah, definitely.
he's and that's like a really cool factor because like you can be really athletic, but if you don't have like I don't know, creativity in the moment, like I don't know, to do something like the other people is not expecting, or like you know, is not the same. So I think he's yeah, he's really explosive, but he's really creative when he fights, you know. So it's really cool to see. He's a really fun guy to watch, you know. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, both you guys are extremely aggressive, so I think everyone's really excited for this fight because there's not going to be any positions where there's any type of stalling or anything like that. So, what do you think fans can expect from your fight with Ronaldo Jr.?
I just hope hopefully the fans can expect either a submission, or like we both end up really tired after the match, put on a show, you know, put on a war, and yeah, you know, I think we both are on the same page that we want to put like a really cool fight for the people. Ronaldo, as you said, he don't stall. I also don't stall. I'm trying to always move forward, and we're both looking for the finish. So whatever happens, happens. Yes.
And these fights are a little bit different because you're just preparing for one fight. Like when you prepare for
Yeah.
the Worlds, you got to prepare for everyone, so you don't really know who you're going to face. It's a bit different. So how does your preparation change knowing that it's just Ronaldo that you're going to facing one match? You can kind of leave it all on the mat, and then you don't have to compete again after that.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that the other day. Like, it's one match, like just like leave it all out. But I always had I had this friend that he always tell me like, I don't know, we were doing a round in the gym, and I was like, man, I need to save some energy. And he always was like, save for what? You don't even know if you're gonna be if you're gonna be alive, So since then, every time I do a fight, I'm like, you know what, save for what? So I'm like in that mentality as always. I never save nothing, either if it's a tournament or just one super fight. So yeah, you guys can expect I have a big gas tank, and I'm not gonna get tired. And I know Ronaldo either is not gonna get tired. So it's gonna be a war.
Well, like I said, this is a fight everyone is really looking forward to in the jiu-jitsu community. So thank you again for your time. Is there anyone you want to thank or anything else you want to say?
Just thank you guys for the opportunity to be part of this really cool event, and tell everybody to tune in because it's gonna be a war. We're gonna put on a show. It's gonna be a scrappy match, and you guys are gonna love it. So make sure you guys watch it.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch, it takes place on Friday, September 1st. It's going to be at the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. It's part of Jiu-Jitsu Con, incredible event. You can watch it on Flow Grappling. Sebastian, thanks again for your time. Thank you guys for watching.
Hey, thanks so much, Danny.
Yep, we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Pura vida, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. That was super fun.